So what is Padsite and what does it do? Basically, it's a database management application that you can build onto. So it becomes a framework. It provides a service layer that knows your database. It knows your tables, what fields they have, what types they have, because it maintains a schema of your database. It also writes your controllers for you and even allows you to modify the controllers without breaking that database-aware capability. I'm going to start by demonstrating how easy it is to get started and what it can do for you. All I do is edit this application.cfc file, upload everything to the server, and then log in. So I just set a few values and give the application a name. I'll just call this demo application. And I number these because you can trigger the onApplicationStart event by renaming the application, just by, in this way, giving it a different version number. Next, give your site a title. Call this demonstration site. This is not critical. This is just going to be displayed in the title tags. Next, you need to put in your data source name. I'm just going to leave this one as is. And you want to put in your table prefix here. All of your tables for this particular application will be prefixed with whatever you put here, and that will prevent them from overwriting tables from other applications on the same data source. Then you want to put in your email address. This is just where error notifications will be sent. It will also be shown to the user in the error message, but you could take that out if you wanted. Lastly, if you want to encrypt your passwords or hash them, you need to generate a secret key, and you can just uncomment this here, running once, and then put it in here and relaunch the app. And lastly, since Padsite is writing your controllers all the time, you can set this setting as to whether you want it to make backups each time. So, to save this, upload everything to the server. I've actually already uploaded this other stuff, so we're good to go. So, to get to it for the first time, or to get started using it, just go to your domain name and then /Padsite, and first time the application starts up, you might see a screen that just shows the site title. You get that, just hit refresh. And now your app is running. I'm not sure what's going on there. And at this point, the application has already started. It's already created all my, what I call my system tables for Padsite. And I just need to type in the login that I want to use as the webmaster. And it's going to create this account since this is the first time someone has logged into this instance of the application. So just log in, creates the account. Sets up a few basic pages. So here's the people table or accounts table with the one account that was just created when I logged in. There's a typical editing window. To see the list of tables that it created, you can just go to Setup. This lists always all the different tables. These ones that are called system tables, these are the ones that are required by Padsite. Webmaster tables are basically owned and managed by the webmaster, and you can also have other tables such as administrator tables. You can see that all my tables have the prefix that I stored, so this lets me put multiple websites on the same DSN. Every table has a schema of that table. Schema is like a roadmap, and even the schema has a schema. It doesn't actually get generated when you set up Padsite because normally you're not supposed to edit the schema. But any table that has lost its schema can be reset, or if you just need to start over, if it got messed up, what this does is it goes in and looks at the actual table and rebuilds the schema based on what it finds there. So this is what's actually in the schema, and it's just rebuilt this for me. So you can actually import other tables and get them into Padsite this way. Here's an example of one of the generated controllers in action. This one does the reporting for my accounts table. You get searching, sorting, emailing, and exporting right out of the box. And since each controller is in its own CFM file, you can fine-tune them individually. A service layer does all the heavy lifting. Each controller is built for a specific table, but the structure of the data is completely independent of the controller and its views. You can add, delete, and rename fields, and these controllers won't break because everything is generated on the fly according to the schema. Clicking on a record brings up an editor class controller. Just like the reporter, it's generated from the schema. Each field in the form is displayed according to its data type. If it's a varchar, then it gets a label and a text input field. If it's a Boolean, it gets displayed as a checkbox followed by a label. If it's text, it gets displayed as a text area, and so on. You can also have custom data types and insert your own special handlers. When I post this form, the schema is used again to update the values in the database. That covers most of the basics. Now I'll walk you through the process of adding a table and creating some controllers for it. To add a table, just click Add a New Table and give it a name. You can also relate it to another table, but I'll save that for later. Once the table is added, you can start adding fields to it. There are a few options here that you can set. For varchar, you can have a few different subtypes. You can also set whether it should be displayed in the report pages and whether it should be sortable, and also whether it should be editable on the editing pages or controllers. You can also group your fields by putting them in field sets, and you do that just by basically giving some of them the same name. So we'll call this product details, and we'll put a few different fields in this same field set. I'll just quickly add a few more fields, or just a couple more fields. A description, which is long text. Technically these can't be sortable, but it won't break if you leave it checked. Let's see. And price. Type money. This is a subtype price, actually not the same as the name. That's enough for now. Now I'll show you how to make some controllers that will be associated with this table. And we call them pages here, so we're going to start with add a new page. And we're just going to, there's a lot of stuff here, but it's going to make a lot of stuff based on what you put in here. So, and once these are set up, you can tweak them, but you don't have to mess with them very often. If you want the page to be under a drop-down menu, you put the name of the menu in here, but we're actually just, this is going to be its own page. Products. So it'll go into the products menu, and I can add something to it later, but for now, just be one page. The file for the reporter page or controller, I'm just going to call that products.cfm. I'm going to give it a reporter subtype. You can also do calendar. Leave this, skip this for now, skip the summary for now, get to that later. We do want you to be logged in to access this page. Right now we don't have any other types of accounts, so Webmaster is the only one available here. Now here is the label we want to use for individual records, and this is just in the for the button to add a new record. So this will be product, and the editing page or controller will just be product.cfm. Access will be to Webmaster only, and the window size, typically I do these at 640, or depending on how many fields it has. That's all that you need for a reporter controller and an editor controller. Hit update, and then now these buttons have changed because I've got a name in there and it's not preceded by an X underscore, which means it's not a custom or one that I'm not supposed to overwrite. So I just hit create, and again down here, and we're done. Technically I can just close this window now. I'll go ahead and update this so you can see what happens to the buttons. Now that there's a page already there, it says update instead of create. A minor difference, I guess. So now here's the page, or at least a summary of that page, and here's the actual page over here. Doesn't have any records yet. I can go ahead and put one in. This was the field set that we grouped these fields in, and that's why it helps to group them, because it just makes the little presentation a little nicer. So I'm going to just put in test product, awesome description, and a price $99.99. There it is. If we had more, we could do a search. I'll go ahead and add one more. Call this test product 2. Wow. $75. Now I can search them. And give me everything with the number 2 in the product name. And there it is. It knows it hasn't selected all of the records, so it gives me the option to go ahead and view all of them. I can also sort either by, well, any data type that's sortable, and of course if you click it again it toggles back and forth, and it remembers the direction and so forth. If you have access to the setup page, the setup button will always show up here in the top right corner of each table or each reporter. So you can hit this and go straight to editing the schema for this table. Additionally, you can always view the contents of a table by clicking this link. And there's also a command line here where you can enter SQL commands for the table you're viewing. Now I want to show you the controllers that were created on the server. The controllers that get generated always end up in the user folder, or Padsite user. I'm going to reload. this. And these are the pages that got created along the way. This one here is the one that we created, or these two are the ones we created. Products. And product. Well, let's start with the products.cfm page first. These values here should look familiar. These are the ones that we put in when we were creating the controllers for this table. Further down, this is typical of all the reporter pages, which are based on a template which you can modify if you want. But basically it starts by requesting a report from the reporting services object, which is reporter.cfc in the services folder right here. Once it has that report, if everything went well, it will select a different view depending on what the user is asked to do. By default, it will display the header and then the tabs and the rows. But if you put a field in your table named Q, Padsite will add in this re-queuing function, which gives you drag and drop reordering of your records. If you have an email address in your table, it will also give you the option to send mail. Product.cfm is a little different. By default, it just loops through all the fields and displays them according to their type. This is also where you can interrupt Padsite's automatic process either by data type or by field name. If you want to override the way this page works, just rename it with an X underscore in front of the name and update the page in Padsite. This will prevent Padsite from overriding your version of the page, but you'll still get the benefit of it being tied to the schema. So if you add a field, your custom page doesn't have to be updated to see the new field. Well, that covers the setup and most of the basics. I hope you'll download it and try it out. There's still a lot of room for improvement, but I have found it to be a pretty useful tool. Thanks for watching.